Hi. I see that going up real loud. It went red. Red!
Alright guys, good evening. Welcome to, I don't even know what this is. It's a review of a movie we're going to watch. What's this called?
Justice League The Flashpoint Paradox.
And it is a cartoon movie?
It's a DC animated movie they did a few years ago. I think it may be 2013 or 12. I'll have to look it up, but it's one of my favorite ones.
So we're going to watch it, and then we're going to give it our final thoughts. So stick around.
Yeah.
So what's everybody's thoughts?
Well, since you guys haven't seen it before, what do you guys think?
Oh, I greatly enjoyed it. I mean, it was definitely gritty, but it was the timepiece of what it was, where he went and what the conflict that was there, and it was interesting, kind of seeing a different side. But at the same time, how it all came to be, the story, it made sense. It went through, and good prevailed in the end. It was I like for me, the biggest thing is just because not just with the origin with Barry or Bruce, but that both of them together. I just think that was a cool bond with them. Some closure to some things with the past, but at the same time still going on, because it makes you think. Like what if what would happen? Different thing. You actually saw that where everything just was not the norm of what you're used to seeing for the heroes and their what's going on and what they're facing and seeing. Normal criminals you wouldn't think, like Lex Luthor. They're working together. Just different things. It was a nice twist. It was sad to see some of what happened, but it was good. It had my attention from the very beginning to the end. I'm gonna have to say that. Even with having to stop to get some coffee or go to the restroom or whatever, it's just my eyes were on the screen to see what would happen, what was going on, to put it all together, and then when figuring out what was what triggered it all, and it's kind of interesting how just like that he made it happen, even just one simple effect, so because the whole butterfly effect and all that stuff, but. It was interesting. They put it together. I have nothing negative to say about it. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit more, gritty again, violence, and who do you think, Diana or Wonder Woman, getting Shazam and just like this cold blood. It's just like wow. But then that's a part of it. It's just that with those characters, with the Amazons or the Atlanteans. This, whatever triggered, and then you have people with superpowers, and you having some drama and conflict, and it's just like the world's just gonna get blown up because of something. But going back to the Flash and Bruce, I like that part of it when it all comes down to it. Would have liked to have seen a little bit more of Superman. I thought after he went up to go in the clouds and was gone for a while, I thought that his muscles would regenerate and something would happen, not to stay kind of like.
Yeah, I thought that was.
I was kind of like I was surprised with that because of years being away that it'll just like, but yeah. Hey, okay, but he hasn't been doing anything either for years.
Yeah, they haven't fed him hardly at all just to keep him alive. Right, so that's why he's skin and bones.
Right, so that it makes sense. I thought that would, I guess, artistic license that to see that, but it makes sense. But it was pretty dismal, doom and gloom, end of the world. And right at the last moment, there's the only way to get through. It was kind of interesting to see how that had Barry on the timeline where he was going to stop. That he ultimately had to stop himself too. So I don't know if that was a, literal where he, on that timeline that it's just a loop that he's always going to try to save his mother, and he had to stop it himself, or if it was just, because it's like weird because you think it's Reverse Flash that he's fighting, then to see him on the timeline up ahead of him, it's just like okay. But I got it. He had to, stop that. Closure. It was good. That was my piece. 2 thumbs up. Definitely will watch it again.
So I thoroughly enjoyed it. One thing I noticed was that was season 2 of The Flash for Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also threw some of the actual Flash movie that they came out with a couple years ago. Some of that was in here too. So I don't know who.
Well, this came out way before that.
Okay,
this came almost over a decade
before.
That's
not the comic.
The comic, the graphic novel was created over a decade
that's where they
before.
pulled him from. Then the movie.
Yes.
And then also that thing with Superman. That's what they did with Superwoman in the Flash movie, from the one that's on HBO.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they had to go save Superwoman, and she was all skin and bones, looking like that. And then the second she got out in the sun, she just but she got jacked.
Mm-hmm.
And then also But yeah, the references I remember all these.
Supergirl.
all the references from the movie was in the season 2. Season 2 on Netflix was more detailed though. Like
Mm-hmm.
they went all over the place with it. But they used the whole entire plot line was season 2 of that of what happened because he changed the the whatever you
Timeline?
call it, the timeline because he went and saved his mom the one time,
Mm-hmm.
and just because of that, so he had to actually go back at the end of season 2 to defeat. He had to stop Zoom because Zoom is actually the one
Mm-hmm.
in the season 1 that killed his mom. So he had to go back and stop his normal self from stopping Zoom from killing her.
Yeah.
In order for
The
it,
yellow blur.
in order for it to go back, yeah, in order for his timeline to go back to normal again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I see all the cross references all over the place. It was really cool. I didn't, I get it. The movie is what it is. I didn't like them needlessly killing certain people
Yeah.
and things, but
I know.
it's just, I guess it's the reality of war. I mean, that's
Right.
what happens.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great. I
They're
know.
showing how one little thing people can change,
Yeah,
like
exactly,
how
yeah.
Aquaman was and ruthless, and
It's
then
so
how
crazy.
Wonder Woman was.
Everybody was exact opposite of what we all recognize and know,
Mhm.
come to know and love of the characters for
I know.
DC.
There's definitely those moments where we all just look at it like, what?
And then it's funny how like in the TV show they added a bunch of other different characters, but they still use the same story.
It's because it's based off the show and the movie's roughly based off of that storyline.
At the comic book line.
So
But
that's what if like with the live action movie, if they would have gone, if you would have told me they were doing Flashpoint Paradox and they actually totally did it. You said you guys enjoyed like if they actually did a live action movie with that, not just mess around with it, not make it
Mhm.
whatever how they goofballed it up.
Salad.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
would have been and part of the grittiness of that, like showing the reality of actually how
Mm-hmm.
people could actually be, because you see how Thomas Wayne reacted as Batman compared to Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
I love that Batman.
He didn't care about killing anybody.
That
He
was
just wanted to
freaking
get it.
awesome. I like that version
So,
of Batman.
and part of that, it's like it's so gritty because you find out that it's his wife's the Joker
Yeah, that was sick.
Yeah.
because of what happened.
That was
to
a
Bruce.
twist.
She had a,
That was
she
cool,
had
yeah.
a mental
Twist.
break. She had a mental
Yep.
break that because her son died,
Yep.
and he handled it differently.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's the
So-
thing, because all of it,
Yeah,
not to mix reality, but we all have personality, and who knows what would be the tipping point for
Who
us.
the heck was that chick? Yo-Yo?
That's Harley. Yeah, it's Harley
Yeah.
Quinn.
Yeah, why
Yeah.
would they?
That's who she is.
So is that like a real character? Is Yo-Yo?
No, it's that
Or is it
version.
just
It's that
nickname?
it's
Okay.
that version over there, like her
Gotcha.
version.
That's
So you gotta remember she didn't have that version of the Joker isn't the Joker.
exactly. It's
that she would
different,
fall
yep.
in love with, and she became Harley Quinn,
Mhm.
like that. Used her name to become that character, like in reference to. But she did, it's like different versions, even like with. I hate that they call him Shazam nowadays. They lost the license. They didn't get the license back and still call him Captain Marvel. But they called him Captain Thunder. It was all the kids, not just Billy Baston.
I didn't know that was
But-
a thing. I had no idea.
Yeah, so
That's
that's
sad.
his version with all of them combined.
Yeah.
Instead of just being him, which is, you see how...
Is that like that in the movies?
Mm-hmm. The second one. Yeah.
well,
Oh, yeah, I
not,
haven't
like
seen the
they had
second
their
one.
own abilities, but it wasn't all of them combined into one person, right? In that second
They,
one.
they all had the different
Their own
concepts,
stuff,
but
yeah.
he did that because so he wasn't alone with the power.
So, yeah, it's like...
Oh, so yeah, because he divided it up.
Yes.
Was it the end of the first movie?
So I get, like from a
His
fan
friends.
standpoint, and then losing the license for use the name. That's why they can't use Captain Marvel in the DC anymore, and then they call him Shazam. But it never made sense to me to call him Shazam because that's the wizard's name. That's how he gets his power. Like
Yeah.
even Black Adam says Shazam to use his powers
Mm-hmm.
at times.
Mhm.
So him calling himself, and even somebody made the point with that in the comments of that. Like look at the comments, and somebody's like he can't even introduce himself when he comes into a room. Hey, I'm Shazam because he would turn it back.
Exactly.
To the kid.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, maybe that's why in the movies he always references himself to Bobby Baxter or whatever,
Yeah, this is.
or whatever his name is.
But yeah, like he's a jacked up character, and you see how ruthless Wonder Woman actually is in that movie. And
Yeah, that
that's
was
why
nuts.
she was no big deal. It's like, oh, okay, you're just in the way.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was really hoping Wonder Woman was going to get her comeuppance. I didn't like that she died that way.
yeah,
Oh, come here, merman! I'm going to hold you. And then
Yeah, at the, in the
they all
end,
got fried. Yeah, they got
I wish-
atomized.
if anything, I wish she would have got like beheaded or something. That would have been.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You start getting gritty, and it's like you want to see them get theirs in a sense. In the same time, when it all boils down to it's just it seems like this. retaliation and scorn because of whatever drama. And it's like, wow, that's like really going.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Part
know,
of the whole thing with her
yeah.
too, she kind of realized
Love
at the
affair.
end that
It's like,
all
whoa.
that she did for what she did, it didn't
Mhm.
amount to anything.
Yeah.
Everything's dead.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
dead.
Everybody's
Everybody
dead.
cared
Very
about
doom
dies.
and gloom, just where everyone is just after each other. It's like, why?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So yeah, I enjoyed it. That was cool. We got to keep doing these.
Yeah.
Now that you said what you said earlier, that's why I filmed the whole thing.
Yeah, there's other
'Cause
ones I know
I'll be
that
able to
you
post
guys
the
would
shorter
really.
version on YouTube and then do the other one for the other thing.
There's a ton of great ones that are just single stories. They're not continuations. There's ones that they did after that they were continuations of the New 52 that are great. Those are the ones that are separate stories, like Superman, the League, Batman ones are totally separate stories. The solo stories like that one is
Mm-hmm.
a solo story that are great too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So-
it's just
It's so weird. I never got into any of those. Like they were coming out and they're available on DVD, but I was like, I don't know what this
yeah, they
is.
just
I don't wanna-
they did.
There's so many of these movies that came out, and I never
I've seen a
watched
couple. I
any
still
of them.
wanna
There's
watch
like so many
Batman
awesome
Samurai.
great. There's so many great ones that are like another great one. I want to get it digitally. I used to have it physically on Blu-ray. Was Batman Under the Red Hood.
Mm-hmm.
That one's a great one. That's a solo Batman movie.
Yeah, I always turned every time I seen them in the stores. I always turned them down because it wasn't what I knew.
Yeah.
So like I didn't know what I was gonna get into. And the same thing. I think I did the same thing with Marvel too. I didn't collect any of the Marvel movies.
Yeah, back in the day, yeah, the
Like
ones they did back in the 2000s, like the Ultimate Avengers that was animated and the Ultimate Avengers 2. Those movies are great because it's
Yeah.
like based off the Ultimate versions of the comics. And the animation's great in that. That Wolverine versus Hulk is great. It's a short. They did a
Mhm.
Hulk versus. Hulk versus is basically two separate smaller stories. Him versus Thor, it's a separate story, and then him versus Wolverine, which is great.
I think you introduced me to one of those. Because don't you have some kind of a Marvel movie like that? Like some kind of an offshoot like that DVD, and
I'll have to
then
check
you
or
brought it
something.
over to the
Mhm.
bowling alley. When I lived above the bowling alley, and we watched it, and then
Mhm.
like, it was really good, and I wanted to get into it, but then I just didn't.
Yep.
I almost
have
think
to
you
check
brought
on what it
something
is,
over
but,
for us to
yeah.
watch. It was some kind of a Marvel movie back in the day. But anyways, all right, guys, that's our review. We did a full watch and review. What is that called again?
Justice League Flashpoint Paradox.
That was amazing. We loved it. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. And look forward to more of these. So don't forget, guys. Just keep gaming. Just keep watching. Whatever it is. Blah blah blah. Have a good night.